What's cracking about LamaGBT here, and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh! Gates of the Apocalypse deck profile. I've meant to do this a lot sooner than I am. uh, this is the deck that I essentially went through the whole season with the edits that I added to it, being I'll point out when we get to them, but a lot of them are kind of condensed together, so it's just really semantics. And a lot of the cards that I put in here, after initially making the deck, I added during the series. So again, there are a few cards in here that I didn't get on my side, but if you go to Ender's channel and look for any episode, look for the episode that has me in it, you'll see that I have it there, and it's where I got it. They were meant to be posted to both of our channels, but the audio messed up on my end, and I couldn't post them. But Ender posted his end of it, so we have part of the video. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the build. So starting off, as you see here, we have one copy of the original Red Eyes Black Dragon. This card's just the classic, the one everyone knows, the one that Joey Wheeler himself used, or Atticus Rose, depending on what you grew up with. And it's just kind of the key focus of the deck, as almost every card in the archetype lists Red Eyes Black Dragon, or at least counts themselves as Red Eyes Black Dragon. Next up, we have Summon Skull, mainly in here as fusion material fodder, but is also used to help me either survive a turn or dish out heavy punishment on my turn with its high attack for level 6. Next up is the Darkness Metal Dragon, normally seen in like normal dragon builds when it comes to IRL play, but for this is kind of the boss monster of my deck, and is used to help me swarm out the field a bit more each turn with its ability to summon a dragon monster from my hand or grave. So I could use it to keep recycling a few of my cards or keep them in check, or even use it to pop a few of my cards' effects. The next two cards never really saw any type of play, either being drawn or summoned, or even sent to the graveyard for that matter, in the recorded series itself, and that's Vandalgion, the Dark Dragon Lord. This card I had in here as another kind of high attack point monster to help me survive for a while, or even just keep my opponents from it hitting me, or if they did, lessen the damage by a lot more than I would have taken. But it never really got drawn, nor could I really make use of its effect to special summon itself when a counter trap is used, because I don't have any counter traps. But it's nice to have. I threw it in here as another option, and it never got used, so hopefully in the future, if I get to record any more gates, we'll see Vandalgion there. Next up, we have the Arm Protector Dragon. This card essentially was put in here as a wall, because my deck mainly focuses on high attack points, but I have next to no cards with good defense. So this card was meant to be the wall of the deck that I needed, and it never got drawn, never got seen, never got summoned, never got sent to the graveyard. But it's alright. It helps protect my equip cards, which doesn't help a few of them, but for the ones that it does, it's always appreciated. Next up is the Red Eyes Alternative Black Dragon. Essentially, I contribute a Red Eyes monster from my hand or field to special summon it, and if it's destroyed, I can summon a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in my graveyard, and if it's the Red Eyes Black Dragon that I summon, its original attack becomes doubled, meaning it goes from 24 to 48, and becomes the biggest attack point monster in the deck. Well, in the main deck. But it's just nice to see this card in hand when I have a Red Eyes, or if I have Red Eyes in the graveyard. It's nice to see this card in hand when I have another Red Eyes in my hand to discard for it, or tribute for it, or whatever I need for it, and it's just nice. It's a quick and easy level 7 for me to summon, because I almost always have a Red Eyes in my hand. Next up is 2 copies of Black Flare. Essentially, these guys are in here as just substitutes for Red Eyes, as a lot of the cards require a Red Eyes normal monster, which Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon fits the bill of pretty nicely. being treated as a normal monster while face up on the field or in the graveyard, and even having Red Eyes Black in its name helps me use it in place of my Red Eyes for a few of my card effects. Not all of them, but a few of them, which is very nice to see. And it also just being a level 7 makes it so much better for my deck than it already was. That it's kind of crazy. Because a lot of the cards in here require me to have higher level dragon monsters, and a few of them require me to have a higher level normal dragon monsters, which this card fits the bill of perfectly. Next up, this card wasn't seen through me using it, but someone else. That would be Archbrave Dragon. I threw it in here as another level 7. It's a high level dragon, so my cards can still take advantage of it. And its effect isn't the worst if my opponent uses a lot of face-up stuff, or specifically face-up spells and traps, because if I can special summon it from my graveyard, it banishes those spells and traps, and it gains 200 attack and defense for each. So I can summon it, it banishes cards that my opponent controls, and becomes beefier, and or bulkier, depending on the position I have it in. Next up is the Archfiend of Lightning, another good Gemini monster. When it's summoned again, it can destroy all monsters my opponent controls with lower defense than its attack. So if as long as they have lower than 25,000 defense, I'm in the clear. Next up is the last Gemini monster in this deck, the Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact. When it's summoned, it's protection for Red Eyes monsters from battle or card effects, so they can't be destroyed as easily unless they destroy my impact first. It saw a lot of play, not just as fusion material, but as actual like summoning material. I did use it in my duel of the tournament to try and help me. It didn't work. Next up, we have the Red Eyes Wyvern. Not normally seen in like direct play. It was seen summoned in the first episode, but after that, anytime it was seen, it was in the graveyard to use its effect. To essentially just summon a Red Eyes from my graveyard at the cost of my normal summon for the turn, as it only works at the end phase, and I can't normal summon or set to use as effect. But it's a good card to have just speeding out some cards. And if I don't normal summon or set, and it specifically says I can't normal summon or set, but I can special summon, so I can't. So if I already have a monster on the field, I can banish it, special summon my Darkness Metal, special summon dragon monsters through its effect, and I can still use Wyvern to summon another Red Eyes from my graveyard. Next up is Gearfried the Red Eyes Iron Knight. This card kind of revolves around my equip cards, because whenever an equip card is equipped onto it, it destroys the equip cards, and then I can destroy a spell or trap my opponent controls, and it also has a secondary effect, which I personally have never used, and that is I can send an equip card that is equipped to this card to the graveyard if I don't choose to destroy it, as the destruction effect of equipped spells, traps, or monsters to this card is optional. I can send an equip card on this card to the graveyard and target a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in my graveyard to bring it back. So essentially I can use it to help me speed out some plays as well. This next card was mainly in here as fuel for my Slash Dragon, and that is the Master of Flaming Dragon Swords. He's able to increase his level to 5 and gain 300 attack, but other than that, he's just a warrior monster to target besides my Gearfried for Slash Dragon. Next up, this card has seen quite a bit of play in the series, and it's my Red Eyes Retro Dragon. When a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster I control is destroyed by attack, card effect, and sent to the graveyard, that part's important, it has to be sent to the graveyard, so they can't like bounce it or banish it, I can use this card while it's in my hand, special summon this card in defense, and if I do, I can special summon as many of the monsters destroyed by the card effect or by battle as possible for that turn, and I can use his secondary effect to tribute him to normal summon again, as long as it's for a Red Eyes monster. This doesn't mean I can normal summon Red Eyes Black Dragon without tributes, it just means I have a secondary normal summon for the summon of a Red Eyes monster. Next up, only seen in one episode, is my Lord of D. He's just nice to have around to keep my dragons safe from card effect as well, so he kind of fills the same purpose as my Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact, in where he protects my monsters for longer, though he doesn't really have the stats necessary in that, being a level 4, and with Meteor being a level 6, but he's still nice to have around. He's kind of a classical card, and it's always nice to see he was here for something else. But it is nice to have, especially earlier on when I didn't really have any options. Next up is 2 copies of the Red Eyes Baby Dragon. Essentially, when it's destroyed, I can target a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from my deck, summon it, equip it with the Baby Dragon, and it gains 300 attack while equipped. And if it's sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, I can add a level 1 Dragon monster from my deck to my hand, or it can be from my graveyard to my hand. Essentially just giving me recursion with a lot of my better searchers, and also searching out a few of my Red Eyes cards themselves and boosting them, like my Archfiend of Lightning, which, when equipped with this card, will give it 28 instead of the normal 25, so it can destroy more. The next card in here is the only 3 of in this deck for monsters, and that is the Black Metal Dragon, which essentially just equips onto Red Eyes monsters I control from my hand or from my field. It gives them 600 attack, and when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, I can add a Red Eyes card from my deck to my hand. It doesn't matter if it's monster, spell, or trap. As long as it's got Red Eyes in the name, I can search and add it to my hand. So it's my best searcher of the monsters, but it requires a lot of setup in order to do, because I need to have a Red Eyes on my field for it to equip onto. I need to have it in hand for me to use it. I need to have it be sent from the field to the graveyard, meaning I can't get it banished by, say, an enemy Archbrave, but they also do give the power bonus as well, and they even double Baby Dragon's effect. They even do double from Baby Dragon's effect, giving 600, meaning I can equip it onto Archfiend of Lightning to get its attack even higher, or I can have them both equipped on there to do even more damage, and it will just... It's beautiful, I tell you, beautiful. Next up, we have the Blackstone of Legend. If it's summoned, I contribute it to special summon a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from my deck, and if it's in the graveyard, I can target a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in my graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck, and if I do, I can add the Blackstone back to my hand. I can only use each effect once per turn, and only once that turn. It specifies that for a good reason. It's just my best searcher for monsters in the deck, and it's my easiest playmaker for a lot of my bigger plays, and it's always nice to see. Next up, we have the first of my spell cards in the deck, the Allure of Darkness. Essentially, it's just to help me synergize with my dark deck and also allow me to draw more cards from it. But the downside is I need to banish a dark monster from my hand, and if I can't, I send my entire hand to the graveyard, meaning if I use this without a dark monster, I need to hope and pray that I get one from the draw that I can banish. Otherwise, I'm losing my entire hand. So it's more than not a gamble, because I normally have a dark monster in hand, but on the off chance I don't, it's the card I need to either make or break a play. And next up is the main play of the deck, my Red Eyes Fusion, which is a 3 of as well. Essentially, this card allows me to fusion summon monsters using cards from my hand, deck, or field as fusion material, as long as Red Eyes is listed as material, meaning this card is, for example, more popularly used for Dragoon of Red Eyes, which I personally despise with a passion. You'll never see me caught dead playing Dragoon, but now that Verte is gone, I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing Dragoon. So this card is just mainly used as my main setup for my fusions. It's easy access to my extra deck, even if I don't have the materials in my hand or on my field. I can just take them straight from my deck as long as they require red eyes. So it's always nice to see in hand, and I almost always have it once per duel, and I don't know how it happens. Next up, we have 2 copies of Return of the Dragon Lord. This card essentially allows me to target level 7 or 8 dragons in my graveyard and special summon them, and it has the added effect of if a dragon monster would be destroyed, I can banish my return instead, and it will protect them. And that's why it's 2 of, for the special summoning and for the banishment effect. Because the banishment effect is nice. It keeps my dragon monsters safe. It keeps them all on the field, and it also does give me access to some of my easier to some of my harder monsters like Arms Protector, Vandalgion, Archbrave, Black Flare, which, albeit a lot of those I never saw go to the graveyard, but with the help of the next card, it's a lot easier to combo with this, the Dragon Shrine, allowing me to send a dragon monster from my deck to the graveyard, and if it's a if the dragon monster was a normal monster, I can send another. Normally, this is just used for me to get Wyvern into the graveyard, but if Wyvern's already in the graveyard, or if I've already used Wyvern this turn, this duel, I can use it to send my Red Eyes Black Dragon and send, say, my Archbrave or any of my other dragon monsters, and then I can use Return of the Dragon Lords to bring them back. It's easy, it's simple, it's straight to the point. Also like the next 2 cards in this list. Inferno Fireblast! I can target a Red Eyes Black Dragon that I control, inflict damage to my opponent to its original attack, but my Red Eyes Black Dragon cannot attack the turn I use this effect. Meaning, if I use Alternative Black Dragon, when it's destroyed, to special summon Red Eyes Black Dragon, I can use Inferno Fireblast, and instead of doing the normal 2,400, it will do 4,800 to my opponent. And again, this is a card that kind of makes or breaks the duel. I only run the 1 of because I find winning by burn kind of cheap, even though that's what the deck kind of tries to go for with a lot of its cards. But I normally try and win with just like beating down my opponent the old-fashioned way. This next card is something no one knows what it does, and it's Pot of Greed. What does it do? It's a mystery to all. It's just here to help me try and speed along my plays. There's no real big explanation behind it. It's Pot of Greed. It needs no introduction. It's the one everyone knows, even if they don't really play Yu-Gi-Oh! Next up is Lightning Vortex. This is the first of the cards that I got in recordings, specifically in the recording with Ender that I lost. Essentially, I can just discard a card, destroy all face-up monsters my opponent controls, which is honestly very nice. It's always nice to see, and getting the effect off is perfect every time it's needed. So yeah, I would recommend Lightning Vortex if you're not allowed to use Raigeki, but if you're allowed to use Raigeki, go for that one instead, because it's better. Next up is the other card. This one I got during episode 2, being Dragon's Mirror, allowing me to fusion summon a dragon monster by banishing the fusion materials from my field or graveyard instead. I bought this to work in tandem with another card, which we almost saw the summon of the card I bought with this, but I never really got to use this or my other purchase card during the season. But it was seen during my second to last episode, having drawn it during my duel against Shu. I was trying to build up the graveyard so I could summon my 5-headed, but I never got to. So it kind of just was bought and never was used. Next up is the other card that was banned for a while, but this one's off the list, and I can actually explain what it does. Monster Reborn, essentially, it's used for recursion, like in any other deck it's put in. It's just here to recur any card that is needed monster-wise, with no limitation, luckily. Next up is another one of my best searchers, only one of this time though, my Red Eyes Insight, which allows me to send a Red Eyes from my hand or deck to the graveyard to add a Red Eyes spell trap from my deck to my hand. This card's mainly used to get stuff like my Red Eyes Fusion or a lot of my Red Eyes trap cards mainly. But it's always nice to see, and it's if I need cards in a pinch, this card's great for it because I can use this to add my fusion spell to my hand and get out one of my bigger monsters quick. Next up is a card I put in here to not only hinder my opponents, but to boost my chances with a few of my cards, and that is Twin Twisters. I discard a card and I can destroy 2 spell traps on the field. This card can be used to destroy the opponent's back row, destroy any cards they have active, get rid of my cards so I can use their searching effects, and it's just nice to see whenever I get the opportunity and am able to use this card. The final spell in my deck is my field spell, Catalyst Field. This card essentially allows me to normal summon a Gemini monster without a tribute and get a second normal summon every turn for a Gemini monster. But it also has a secondary effect that I didn't use till after I finished recording this series, and that is that I can target a card my opponent controls, banish a Gemini monster I control that's treated as an effect monster, so I have to have its effects gained, meaning I have to normal summon them again, and I have to banish it until the end of my opponent's turn, and if I do, I destroy the card I targeted. So this card's essentially just quickly summon out my Geminis, and if I need it, I can banish the Geminis with their effects to get rid of the opponent's monsters until the end of my opponent's turn. Finally, for the main deck, we have my trap cards. Starting off with a personal favorite of mine is Storming Mirror Force. Mirror Force itself needs no introduction. It's another one of the classic cards. It's one of Yugi's ace cards. But this one in particular, instead of destroying monsters, returns them right back to the opponent's hand as long as they were in attack position. So this Mirror Force still has the downside of the opponent having to be in attack position in order to use, but it's good whenever you can pop it off, and personally, it's one of the best Mirror Forces, and it's the easiest one to get off. Next up, we have Heavy Storm Duster. It's the same thing as Twin Twister without the needing of discard, but this one has the downside of me being unable to conduct my battle phase when I use the card. Luckily, whenever I use this card, it's during my opponent's turn, meaning I can still battle on my next turn. But this is mainly used to destroy any set, like Twin Twisters, it's used to destroy any spell traps my opponent has or destroy my own equipped cards so I can get their searching effect. Next up is Draining Shield. This card was in here as my only real way of regaining life points after I lose them. Because it can use my opponent's monster's strength against them and heal me. So if they hit me with something big, like say Blue Eyes, I can use this. It will give me life points equal to Blue Eyes' attack, which is 3,000. So I'd be going up 3,000 while my monsters stay safe and my opponent's monster's attack is negated. So it's always nice to see this card. It's honestly great. I am a big fan, from what you'll see later on through recordings with me. I'm a big fan of traps that activate during the battle phase, like this, Mirror Force, and 2 other cards that you'll see soon enough. But this is always a classic. This is one to go for if you just want to regain life points, or if you don't really have a way of regaining life points on your own. Next up is 2 copies of Red Eyes Spirit. Probably the simplest Red Eyes card that there is. I can target a Red Eyes monster in my graveyard, bring it back. It's good for recursion. I can get back my Archfiend, or I can get back my normal Red Eyes Black Dragon, or my Black Flare. It's really in here to keep me alive for as long as I can, or I can use it to bring back, say, my Baby Dragon, which will search out more monsters to equip onto it to make them stronger to help me live. Next up is the most annoying card in the Red Eyes archetype, the Red Eyes Fang with Chain. It equips to a Red Eyes, gives it a second attack during each battle phase, but that's not what makes it annoying. I can send this card to the graveyard when it's equipped to a monster, target an effect monster on the field, equip it to the original monster, and if I do, as long as it remains equipped to my monster, it gains its attack and defense. or its attack and defense become the attack and defense of the monster equipped. So let's go back to Blue Eyes here. Say I equip it onto my Baby Dragon. Baby Dragon's attack and defense go from 1200 attack and 700 defense to 3000 attack and 2500 defense. It's a really great card. I enjoy screwing with people, and out of RP, it has helped me in so many occasions. Specifically when it comes to a fun combo I do with it and Arc Brave that my opponent uses. Next up is Magic Cylinders, another classic card. This one just redirects the attack of my opponent's monster to direct attack against the opponent. So any damage that the opponent was trying to do to me, they would take either more or the exact same if it was a direct attack than I would. That I would. Next up is Red Eyes Burn. Simply put, if a Red Eyes monster I control is destroyed, target the monster, both players take damage equal to its original attack. So if they destroy my Red Eyes Black Dragon, both of us take 2,400. It's a good card. It's probably one of my quicker burn options in the deck, seeing as Red Eyes are destroyed a lot. But I don't know. It's only a one-of because I'm not really a personal fan of using it. I prefer trying to win the old-fashioned way, but it's always good to see this one in a pinch if I need it. Next up is one of my favorite cards of all time, Scrap Iron Scarecrow. Back to the Battle Trap thing again. When an opponent's monster attacks me, I can use this, flip it face up, it negates the attack, and then goes back down. It's used to try and keep stalling for as long as I possibly can to keep my life points alive, keep me in the game, whatever I need it to do. I love Scrap Iron so much. It's in every one of the decks I make, or if it's not, I try and get it somewhere down the line, and it's just amazing. I love this card so much. And the final card in the main deck is my Return of the Red Eyes. This card requires me to have a Red Eyes on the field, and if I do, I can target a normal monster in my graveyard and summon it. This is just, again, good recursion. It can target my Gemini monsters, since while they're in the graveyard, they're treated as normal monsters. It can target my Red Eyes Black Dragon, it can target my Summoned Skull, and it can get back those, but it also has the added effect of, if it's destroyed by my opponent's cards and sent to the graveyard, so I can't just use Twin Twisters or Heavy Storm Duster for this. It has to be my opponent that destroys it. I can target a Red Eyes monster in my graveyard and special summon it. No strings attached, no nothing. But that about does it for the main deck. All that's left to really go over is the 8 cards in the extra deck, 4 Xyz and 4 fusions. Going over the fusions is the final card that I bought in the series itself, being Five-Headed Dragon. The only way I can summon this card is with my Dragon's Mirror, which is what I would normally do, and I never really got to summon it, because I never had 5 dragon monsters in my graveyard to summon it. But if I do, it's unable to be destroyed by Dark Earth, Water, Fire, or Wind monsters, meaning it can only be destroyed by Light monsters. And it's also a 5,000 attack. It also has 5,000 attack and defense, meaning it's going to be hard as hell to get over. So it was supposed to be my big option for hard opponents, but I never got to use it. So there's that. Next up is the first of my Red Eyes cards for the extra deck. My Archfiend Black Skull Dragon. This was originally the only reason I ran Summoned Skull. It would essentially be summoned. When it attacks, my opponent can use any effects until the end of the damage step, meaning after they take damage. And when damage calculation is performed using this card, when the battle phase ends, I can target a Red Eyes normal monster in my graveyard, inflict damage to my opponent equal to its attack, and then shuffle the selected card back into the deck. Meaning I can use this to target my Gemini monsters, my Red Eyes Black Dragon, and it'll use their attack against the opponent once again to deal some more damage. The next card in here is what I consider to be my personal boss monster when I use Red Eyes, and that is the Meteor Black Comet Dragon. Requiring a level 7 Red Eyes monster and a level 6 Dragon monster, which is why we have my Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact. It essentially, when it's summoned, I can send a Red Eyes monster from my hand or deck to the graveyard, inflict damage to my opponent equal to half of the attack points of said monster. And if it's destroyed, I can target one normal monster in my graveyard and special summon it. Meaning this card is both a big beater, able to burn my opponent's life points, meaning it could potentially net me the win, and is able to recur my monsters. And there is one thing I forgot to say about Red Eyes Fusion. Whenever a monster is summoned with this card, it is treated as Red Eyes Black Dragon, meaning all three of these fusion monsters are treated as Red Eyes Black Dragon when I summon them, and can be used for the effect of my Inferno Fire Blast. So it is also the highest attack point monster I can summon and use Red Eyes and use my Inferno Fire Blast on to deal the biggest amount of damage to my opponent. Potentially with this card, I have an OTK on my opponent. I have a 2-turn kill. And that is if on turn 1 I draw Fusion, Inferno Fire Blast, and Red Eyes Burn. Because I can use Inferno Fire Blast, I can summon Meteor Comet Dragon with Fusion, burn them for my Darkness Metals, half of my Darkness Metals attack, which is 14, then use Inferno Fire Blast, which burns them for another 35, and then set my burn, and on their turn, if they manage to kill my Comet Dragon while it's treated as Red Eyes, I can use Red Eyes Burn to target my destroyed Comet Dragon and inflict damage to my opponent equal to Comet Dragon's attack, and that damage will also go to myself. But I essentially have built ways to OTK my opponents, or at the least to get game in 2 turns. But I never do those, so it doesn't matter. Next up, we have the Red Eyes Slash Dragon. Essentially, the only reason I really have my dragon swords up here. It's able to equip warrior monsters from my graveyard onto it when it attacks, or when a Red Eyes monster attacks. And every time I do, it gains 200 attack, and when a card would be activated that would target a card I control, I can send an equip card from him to the graveyard to negate the effect and destroy the card. And if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, I can special summon as many monsters that were equipped to this card. So essentially, seeing as I only have 2 warrior monsters, I would only be able to do this. I would only be able to summon 2. But if I were to have a full field of warrior monsters that are equipped to this card, I could summon 5 warrior monsters once it's destroyed. And that brings an end to our fusions, but we're almost done with the Xyz, and the first card in here is the one I summoned the most, my Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. Requiring 2 level 7s, it cannot be destroyed by card effects while it has an Xyz material on it, and while it has Xyz material, anytime my opponent would use a card effect, it inflicts 500 damage to my opponent. And once per turn, I can detach a material from this card to target a Red Eyes normal monster in my graveyard and special summon it. Note that it says quick effect. This effect can be used during my opponent's turn as well, meaning I can just interrupt them. But it's good. This is another card that could make or break a game, because using it, I can burn my opponent whenever they use a card effect, which, as you guys have seen, I have used to actually end games before, though it is not my preferred method. I can also use it to recur my field with my Red Eyes monsters, so it's always nice to see. The next card is Dad, or Dark Armed the Dragon of Annihilation. Essentially, he requires 2+ level 7s. However, if I have exactly 5 Dark monsters in my graveyard, I can summon this card by using a level 5 or higher Dark Dragon monster instead. And only that one monster. And its effect is basically, I can detach a material, target a card my opponent controls, destroy it, then banish a card from my graveyard, and when I do, this card cannot declare an attack for the turn. Which normally, I only have 1 material on it anyway, so I can only use that effect once per turn. So it's kind of just a quick pop. The downside to it is I have to banish a card, and when I use it, it can't attack. So, the next card is my number for the series, number 76, Harmonizer Gradial. Requiring 2 level 7s, this card, originally being a light monster, has the effect of gaining the attributes of each material attached to it, which for me is normally dark. But it has the second effect of detaching material to target a monster in my opponent's graveyard and equip it to it, meaning if it has a different attribute than light and dark, I can use it to gain the attribute of, say, wind or water. And it'll be light, dark, wind, water, yeah, it's so on and so forth. And the reason this is important is this card cannot be destroyed by battle with monsters of the same attribute of it. It can also not be destroyed by the activated effects of monsters with the same attribute, meaning if my opponent's dark monster uses an effect to destroy my Harmonizer Gradial or tries to attack and destroy my Harmonizer Gradial, it won't work. As long as my Harmonizer Gradial shares an attribute with it, my monster will be safe. And then the final card of my deck, and the final card that I bought on camera, is Tornado Dragon. Once per turn, and this can be used during my opponent's turn as well, I can detach a card from... I can detach one Xyz material from it, target a spell or trap on the field, destroy it. It's just another way of me destroying my own cards to search things or destroying cards my opponent has. With that being said, that is all for the deck of Gates of the Apocalypse. Let me know if you guys want to see more, including some of the other people that were in Gates of the Apocalypse from my end, like Luke or Yuki. And I will see if I can get them together to show off their decks from the series. But with that being said, thank you all for coming out today. Hope you all had fun. I know I did, trying to look back through this. And I'll see you guys next time I post. Peace out.